The Traditional Summer Breakup by Floating Bubblesque, Chapter 7. Izuku thought he was handling himself pretty well. He dodged the mysterious gift box, flowers, Katsuki's jealousy, dinner seating, a fucking serenade, and every sneak attack hug that Katsuki had thrown at him so far. He was determined to win this year. He wanted to go to the new Hall of Fame exhibit badly. Even so, when the teachers grouped them up for a test of courage, he breathed a sigh of relief when he was grouped separately from Katsuki. The constant offers of affection were wearing down his resolve, and he needed the break. But then, one of the groups didn't come back. Everyone fidgeted, worried. They were hero students. They shouldn't take that long to loop back, especially when the other groups got through fairly quickly. Soon enough, the ambient anxiety ramped up, as it became clear that something was wrong. And then Ragdoll called out to them all that there were villains in the forest. Everyone was freaking out, and the adults were hurting all the students inside. But Izuku didn't see that kid anywhere. There were villains, and that kid was gone. A kid was missing, and there were villains. He didn't even process that he was already moving. He was running towards Koda's secret spot on the cliff. He needed to make sure he was safe. Shortly after he heard steps behind him. Swinging his head around, he saw Katsuki running beside him. "Where are you going?" he asked, eyes forward and focused on running. Izuku smiled. Katsuki didn't even question why he was running away from everyone else, just ran with him. He really did trust Izuku. "Koda's up on the cliff. We have to get him before the villain finds him up there alone," Izuku told him. Katsuki nodded and they ran up the trail of the cliff. They both pushed aside the silly competitive tradition in favor of focusing on Koda. And Izuku was incredibly grateful to have Katsuki by his side in everything. They could be silly when they wanted to, and professional when they needed to. Katsuki could fall into action with him, without a word, and they both know what to do. They could fight and understand each other better for it. And they could apologize and understand themselves better for it. And Izuku could hardly wait for the future. But they'd be heroes together. Izuku would be Katsuki's shadow, underground and limelight covering all bases. They'd work out their schedules, the same way Aizawa and Prism might do. Nobody could compare to Katsuki in Izuku's mind. And he knew Katsuki felt the same way. In a flash, both of them were on the cliff, and Izuku cradled Kota in his arms as he explained the situation. But a villain practically as big as a building sauntered up the cliffside. Muscular. Izuku brought out his extra special knives, treated with poison and battery-powered electricity, and Katsuki aimed a careful explosion to the side of the cliff. "It'll take a few more hits. Don't be reckless. We just have to stall," Katsuki whispered. Izuku nodded. Katsuki shot a compressed explosion in the air. Something he'd been working on lately called AP shot. It wasn't enough to do damage yet, but it was perfect as a makeshift flare. The other heroes would know where they were. Muscular monologued about how he'd killed Koda's parents, and Izuku would have moved to fight him if monologuing wasn't such an effective stalling tactic. Izuku wasn't sure if Muscular noticed the flare, or if he was just not very forward-thinking. As soon as he swung at them, Katsuki aimed another explosion at the side of the cliff, timed to match Muscular's punch. And Izuku ducked and sliced through his arm using the force of the swing to drag the blade through his near-rock-hard skin. Muscular pulled back in a scream, holding his bloody arm in his hand as he hissed through his teeth. He charged, and Katsuki redirected his momentum into the cliffside again, and Katsuki's strategy suddenly clicked. Just a few more hits. Izuku clicked on the electricity in his knives, taking careful aim as he bobbed under each of Muscular's swings to slash at sides and legs. Katsuki timed explosions to hit in tandem with Muscular's powerful hooks into the rocks. and then Muscular got a hit in, knocking Izuku into the cliff and the knives out of his hands. Izuku couldn't get a breath in for a second, and then it came back, all at once. The sudden intake of air made him cough and spit out blood. Katsuki used explosions to shove Muscular back as he pulled Izuku out of the way. The last impact that got Izuku also knocked loose enough to cause an avalanche. Katsuki grabbed Izuku in one hand and made Koda climb on his back. Then he leapt off the cliff, using explosions to guide them back to the clearing from the air. "Fuck! Quit moving around, Brad. It's hard enough to fly straight when I only have one hand," he growled. Izuku snorted, and then got into another coughing fit. "You too, dog. Quit moving around, you're injured." Izuku grinned, waiting to snap back, but he didn't have the energy to. Katsuki was right. When they got to the clearing, more heroes had arrived at the scene, and the villains were retreating. Katsuki reported what happened, and Izuku was put on a stretcher. His consciousness faded in and out as the adrenaline left him. He saw Koda being hugged by all the pussycats as they thanked him and Katsuki for finding him. He saw Aizawa and Present Mike scolding him and Katsuki for running off. And he reached out for Katsuki. He felt himself slur. "I love you." And he heard Katsuki tell him that he'd be there at the hospital when he woke up. He also thought he heard Katsuki whisper in his ear, "I win," but he was sure he was dreaming by that point. That was the end of chapter 7. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much again to Floating Bubblesque for letting me podfic this. You should go check out the link in the description and give the fic some kudos. And I hope you have a very nice rest of your day.